As part of the new discussion on the regulatory, uh, on the part of the new discussion on regulatory authorities for infrastructure development, this particular presentation will include the discussion on economics of regulation. We'll also try to link the how regulation is one of the major contributor in privatization process. We'll have a brief outline of regulation in the world, and then we will also try to have a discussion on regulatory authorities for infrastructure in India. So let me begin with what is basically the economics of regulation. Uh, Economic regulation is basically uh, one of the steps to involve the direct legislation or regulation through the administrative mechanism, either for the price or to entry into the markets or any specific industry. One can question that why regulatory mechanism is important, why regulation is important. We have seen in our previous discussion that market failures, which is one of the feature of infrastructure development, is happening due to the natural monopoly, externalities, public goods, and information asymmetries. And when we are working in the environment of non-regulatory mechanism, infrastructure development, infrastructure maintenance, and the fee collection for the infrastructure will become very problematic. It is the experience based on the global understanding from different projects of infrastructure that not only the infrastructure development but also the maintenance and day-to-day uh, day-to-day uh, day-to-day care of the infrastructure becomes really burden for the developers. And in such a situation, it is indeed important to have a regulatory mechanism for the infrastructure. So this provides rationale for government intervention in the markets. The theory of regulation assumes that regulator will attempt to maximize the objective function by the implementation of the regulatory policies. So there is a trade-off between the economic interest of the private firms and the public interest. Through a diagram also we are going to learn today that what basically the private interest and public interest works and how regulatory involvement is reducing the gap between the private interest and the public interest. So the government have a very positive role to play, and this positive role is to provide a proper regulation for effective functioning of the economy without hampering the development process and optimizing the interest of the parties involved in the development of infrastructure and production of the various services to the people. So uh, one of the tasks of any regulatory authority is to fix the prices or the fee which is charged by the service provider. So the common method is to find out the fair return pricing principle, and the price is set at the point where it is equal to the average total cost. So the price is equal to ATC, which we are going to also see in the diagram, and it is allowed to include market rate of return in the ATC. This also provides an guarantee to the new investors or to have the new investment flows to the development of infrastructure facilities, because if price is not equal to the average total cost, there might be loss for the infrastructure developers. We can see it in the diagram here that there are three different point shown here as a point of A, B, and C. Point A is the point which is indicating the price. That price is above the price of PB, and the PB price is the price which is at the point of average total cost. But if a firm is charging PA price which is higher than the average total cost price, and that price is basically the monopoly price. But we are also finding here there is a PC price where the P is equal to marginal cost, and that is the price which is socially optimal price. But the but the private firms will not go for this type of price because they are not having more revenue in that case. So they will certainly go for the higher price, which may be uh, the highest price is the PA in this diagram, but due to the interference from the government regulatory mechanism, the price is coming down from the PA level to PB level. So this reduction is not possible without the involvement of a regulatory body. So through this diagram, we are just uh, uh, just finding the role of the regulation to have the fair return pricing. If it is not properly functioning, then in that case we are far away from the uh, from the price, which will be really really much higher price from the level of socially optimal price, and the society cannot afford such price. So uh, the highest price shown is PA, but the middle level of price is the PB price, and ultimately this type of price is acceptable for both uh, the society as well as the firms. So regulator has to take care of the benefits not only for the consumer but also for the developers, and that is the role which a regulator has to play, because one should consider that there should not be any harm to the supplier. At the same time, there should not be any harm to the consumer also. So extraordinary benefits should not be in favor of either the producer or the consumer, but both should enjoy the benefits of the market. That is really the benefits of a regulator in the market. So world has seen various examples of various incidents of privatization. Chile in 1970s, also in 1980s in British Telecom. We have seen France having privatization process 1986, New Zealand in 1980s, Japan also in 1980s, and no privatization program of the world was one of the successful program without having a proper regulatory interference. And why it is important, as we have discussed, that it reduces the chances of monopoly prices, is it reduces the chances for negative externalities, and there are free riding problem also which can be well taken by these regulatory boards. So uh, a brief outline of the regulation in the world can be also seen here, that in last 1.5 decade, a rapid growth in infrastructure regulatory bodies in developing as well as developed countries are noticed. After 1995, more than 200 such regulatory authorities have been established in the world, and these bodies are primarily concerned in telecom, energy, natural gas, power, and few regulatory bodies are also working for the power, water and transport. Telecom has emerged as the first sector that has been regulated by these authorities in most of the countries. And we are finding that around 100 regulatory authorities have been established for energy sector alone after 1995. So a brief outline is presented here. The Federal Aviation Administration of United States, 1958, Civil Aviation Authority of UK, 1972, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission of United States, 1977, National Electricity Regulatory Commission of Ukraine, 1994, Gas and Electricity Markets Authorities of UK, 2000, Federal Railroad Administration of USA, 1966, Telecom Federal Communication Commission of United States, 1934, the National Telecommunication Agency of Brazil, 1997, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, 1997, and the Office of Commissions of UK, 2002. So we have a long history of regulation not only in one sector like civil aviation but also in energy, railways, and telecom. Uh, Now one cannot consider the development of infrastructure regulatory authorities in India. We can see here the Tariff Authority for Major Ports, TAMP, Airport Economic Regulatory Authority, AERA, Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, CERC, and the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, TRAI. So the Ports Tariff Regulation Tariff Authority of Major Ports was set up in April 1997. Not very old, but at the same time it was created by the amendment in the Major Ports Trust Act 1963 by Ports Law Act 1997. It is an independent authority for the regulation of tariff, both vessel related and cargo related, and it also fixes and determines the rates for the lease of properties in respect of the Major Ports Trust and the private operators. The major functions are the regulation of tariff levied by the ports, fixation of charge for the use of properties belonging to the ports, fixation of fees for pilotage, hauling, booking, and other services. Major achievement after TAMP is it has organized 39 hearings mutually with the ports, port users, build, operate, transfer operators, and the bidders for the PPP. Tariff proposals were refined by these hearings and helped in regulating tariff. It has also allowed market-linked tariff for major port trust. Currently, India has 13 major ports and about 200 non-major ports. One can see the growth of cargo and container at major ports of India compared to financial year 13. Uh, we are finding that the financial year 2011 had uh, the fastest year of growth in last few years. We are also finding that especially the container uh, uh, services also we have added advantage in last few years, and this is not possible without having a regulatory authority. Similarly, in civil aviation sector also, Airports Economic Regulatory Authority of India was created by uh, an act in 2008. The act was the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority of India Act, and the regulatory functions of AERA were notified with effect from September 2009. AERA works in open and transparent environment, and it has mandated to regulate and monitor the tariffs for the aviation sector in India. The major functions are determining the tariff for air services, regulating the development and user development fees, decides the passenger service fees, set the standards and monitor the quality and reliability of the services, the capital expenditure incurred for the airport facilities, set the rules for the improvement of services, the cost for improving efficiency and economic and viable operations for the major airports. So one of the progress may be noticed here with some of the statistics. Uh, the total passenger in India in 2009 and 10 grew to 123.75 million from 40 million in 2000 and 2001. There is an increase from 68% in 2004-05 to 74% in 2010-11 in the number of domestic passengers to the total passengers uh, at Indian airports. Total cargo increased at a compound annual growth rate of 10.4% during 2004 and 2005 to 2010-11. Passenger carried by scheduled airlines in India has a fast growth, and which has 67.73 million uh, number, and this shows that compared to the last 2 years also we have increased in terms of adding the more and more passengers, and this shows that how uh, the size of the market, especially in airline sector, is increasing compared to the previous years. In terms of electricity regulation in India, at the central level we have the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission. At the same time, various states are also having a State Electricity Regulatory Commission. So, Central Electricity Regulatory Commission was established on July 24, 1998 by the Electricity Regulatory Commission Act 1998 to regulate electricity power sector of India. Uh, uh, the main functions under the Electricity Act of 2003 was to promote competition, efficiency, and economy in electricity generation. CERC aims to raise the quality of supply by removing institutional barriers and promoting investments to bridge the demand-supply gap and to protect consumers' interest. An efficient and developed power market is also promoted by CERC. The major functions are tariff regulation of companies owned or controlled by the central government, regulation of tariff of other generating companies, management of the interstate transmission of electricity, determining the tariff for interstate transmission of electricity, issuance of license to electricity traders with respect to their interstate operations, improved access to information for all stakeholders, levy fees for the purpose of the Act, specify grid code for grid standards, ensure the standards with respect to quality, continuity, and reliability of services, fixation of the trading margin in the interstate electricity trading. So some of the achievements are in terms of installed capacity megawatts. Uh, the Ministry of Power, Government of India's data 2003 shows that compared to 1997, we have almost crossed the uh, just uh, just double capacity of the megawatt, and this is one of the achievement in the post regulatory era. In terms of telecom, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, which was set up on 20th February 1997 by an Act of Parliament called the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India Act 1997, has the major objective to regulate and fix or revise tariff for telecom services. It also aims to provide fair, transparent, and conducive environment to telecom operator in the country. TRAI Act was amended in 2000 to establish telecommunication dispute settlement and appellate tribunal. TDSAT took over the uh, uh, all the dispute settlement functions from the TRAI. So the main functions of Telecom Regulatory Authority of India is the regulation of the telecom services in India, tariff setting and notification of the call rates for the domestic and international calls, make recommendations on the need and timing of the introduction of new service providers, ensuring the conformity of the terms and conditions of the license, management of a spectrum, ensuring the quality of services by setting up the standards, protection of the consumer's interest, and it also ensures the effective compliance of the universal service obligations. The growth of telecom sector can be evaluated as the increase in the tele density by 1.92% during the period 1948-1998, and which is now 18% in just 10 years after the rise inception. 6 million subscribers are added every month. India became the fourth largest network in the world, and the contribution of telecom service industry is 2.7% to the India GDP. The recent statistics also shows that in the post regulatory era, we have a wide improvement in terms of the subscribers, in terms of wireline subscribers, while in 1997 we had 14.54 million subscribers, now it has 28.49 million subscribers. While in the wireless subscribers sector we had a huge jump, which was 0.34 million subscribers in 1997. Now it has reached to the 904.51 million subscribers. So the total subscribers, which was around 15 millions in 1997, has now reached to the new height, and that is 933 million subscribers. And the tele density, which had 1.5756 in 1997, is now reaching to the new height of around 75%. So this is all about the contribution of the regulation by the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. In terms of internet subscribers also, the subscribers uh, uh, new subscribers added is 251.59 millions, which was 0.09. This particular sector has really achieved a new targets in foreign direct investment, and we are also seeing that compared to 1997, by the end of 2014, by the end of March 2014, India had really around 80 million uh, FDI in telecom sector in terms of rupees. So in terms of broadband subscribers, we can see here uh, that the uh, total subscribers, we have 46.9 million in India by the by January 2014. This is based on the press release by the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. The data received from this particular press release. And if one can really want to compare the benefits from its past, the growth in electricity generation and transmission can be attributed to the regulation in the electricity sector. Tariff rates of major ports of India is harmonized through the regulation by TAMP. Regulation has significant impact on the progress of civil aviation sector and the increase in the presence passengers traveling through scheduled airlines. And in terms of teledensity and broadband connectivity, uh, the new heights are only because of the efficient regulatory arrangements through TRAI. So to sum up, we can only say that there was a need for independent regulatory bodies when the Indian economy was liberalized in 1991, and domestic as well as foreign private sector were allowed to participate in various decisions in especially in services and production. And when it comes for the infrastructure like telecommunication or port or airline services and electricity generation and distribution, uh, whatever new statistics we are gathering today, that was not possible without a proper support from the guidelines and the time to time uh, regulation provided by different regulatory authorities in different sectors in India. And we have seen at the global level also that it is not India alone which is really active in providing such regulations, but developed as well as many developing countries have the similar practice in the past. And sectors like ports, civil aviation, electricity, telecom were already having likewise regulators. And all the sectors that established regulators, they have really witnessed the fast growth. Uh, India alone is one of the example where we can say that it was not possible for India to become the fourth largest telecom market in the world, but it is happening just because of the active regulatory authority, which is Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. So there is a need for regulators for other infrastructure sectors like railways and roadways. Uh, and The entire discussion shows that more we have the clear-cut rules, norms, policies, and supportive guidelines, then a particular sector has, uh, especially infrastructure building up the infrastructure, is one of the challenges, as we have already seen in our previous discussion. And at the same time, maintaining that infrastructure is another challenge. To minimize those challenges, it is indeed important to have a regulatory mechanism. And in any sector, wherever we were having this regulatory mechanism, we were in the position to have more better infrastructure facilities developed, and we were having more expansion in the size of the market, and at the same time we were able to have the world class growth performance. So this particular discussion gives us an idea that how regulatory authorities, regulatory bodies, and regulatory mechanism works, not only in terms of providing the service, but providing the services on a very suitable price for the consumer. And that price is not only suitable for the consumer, but also for the service providers. So I hope this entire discussion will give you some idea about how a regulatory authority works and how this particular functioning of the regulatory authority helps in getting a very competitive price as well as a satisfactory level of the service. Thank you.